Right. Hello, everybody. Hope you can all hear me. If you guys can hear me, say in chat, Happy Fossilization Day. Or Happy Fossil Day. Say Happy Fossil Day. If you can hear me in chat. If you can hear me, guys. Hello, Ash. Hello, ASMR with Ash. Hello, Lasagna. Hello, Ruby Rose. Hello, Massad Girl. Phantom Zaka. Nancy, the mystery musician, Charlie, Oakley, Pluto, V Fox, Errol, hello, Genya Simp, Oceanic, hello everybody. I'm seeing Happy Fossil Days, lovely, people can hear me. Right, well, hello everyone. Today is of course my birthday, my day where I turn a year older. It's my 29th year since coming into the world and a year closer to me leaving the world again. And I've already got a super chat. Thank you very much, Water Singer. Happy Fossil Day with a £1.79 super chat. Thank you very much. It's very kind of you. Right. How about we start playing some Our Life, shall we? Our Life, beginnings and always. There are various ways you can customize and interact with the game. This tutorial is an overview of how certain features work. You can read the full tutorial from the main menu to learn about everything in detail. To start off, the game is divided into 4 time periods called steps. Step 1, childhood, step 2, adolescence, step 3, young adulthood, and step 4, adulthood. Our Life is further divided into sets of vignettes that take place during specific periods of time. These are called moments. Moments can be played in any order or skipped entirely. You move on to the next step whenever you want to by selecting that summer is ending. Steps 1 to 3 include 5 moments each, and even more can be unlocked by purchasing DLCs. Some are out now and other DLCs will release later on. Step 4 is an epilogue and doesn't include moments. A lot happens over the years that go by, especially in regard to the character you play as. You determine nearly everything about the main character: name, appearance, personality, pronouns, interests, skills, their relationship with major characters, and so on. You can decide to change the details as time goes on, with a few exceptions. Your last name, skin tone, and eye colour can't be altered once set. Much of the main character's basic traits are determined on a character creation screen. As the main character grows up, more options become available on the screen. As mentioned, one of the decisions you'll get to make for your character is selecting a name. You can type in any name you like, or you can pick a preset name. Preset options are called voiced names because the name will be voiced aloud by the romantic lead. You'll get to hear him say your name as you play through the story. Only the default name Jamie is included in the base game. Hundreds more can be added by getting a free voiced name expansion DLC. The full collection of names is separated out as a DLC because of how large it is. If you're not interested in that feature, you don't need to get it. Each name in the DLC belongs to or was selected by someone who supported this project. On the character creation screen, there's a cute doll you can decorate to get an idea of what your main character looks like with the different traits you put together. Not all the things you decide about the main character appear on the doll. The script referencing what you've decided for the main character is the main way those decisions influence the game. Weird Sky with a 10 Singapore dollar, I'm guessing, donation. Thank you very much for that donation. That's very much appreciated. For those of you who are interested, I have actually decided to open up stream donations as like a trial thing. Like, it's just something I'm trying to, like, for when I get my new computer put together, I'm gonna try streaming a bit more often, so I'm just trying to get familiar with some new streaming features. I'm obviously not expecting anyone to donate via the stream, but any donations always are very much appreciated. But I never expect it from you guys. Thank you. Thank you so much for turning up at the very least. Anyway, let's just get past some of this, shall we? Second type of special main character based screen. Interest and comfort. Okay. Nervous, relaxed, and direct. Okay. Your level of interest and comfort will set the type of dynamic your character has with the love interest. What you did in the past will influence the present, and feelings can change over time. You get to pick your interest and comfort near the beginning of each step. Comfort can switch between 3 levels as you please. Your interest level can only stay the same or increase. Your current level of interest will become the new lowest option on the screen in the future. For example, if you decide to be fond in step 1, disinterest will not be available on the screen in steps 2 and 3, which will make fond the bottom level option for your relationship. Okay, interest level has impacts physically interacting with Cove. While growing up, things are rather simple. Touching can become more romantic or suggestive. Okay, we might need to have a little bit of a disclaimer here then, guys. We might need to be a bit wary. There might be some slightly saucy content. To make sure things go nicely with that, there will be extra choice to determine initiative level and a bonus mini tutorial that goes along with the choice to explain the feature in more detail. Okay, basically, if you decide to like Cove, the game won't force you to act on those feelings. You can always choose not to get together with him, choose not to accept or give romantic gestures, etc. If you do decide to date Cove, though, you can't break up with him later. Ooh, okay. That sounds a bit toxic, but okay. Interest comfort levels gets to the basics down, but the choices appear throughout the normal game events. And it isn't only the MC who is impacted by your decisions. Cove grows and changes over the years. How he's treated and what he experiences help shape who he becomes. Personality, appearance, and interests will vary differently for what will vary based on what happened. I can't read. It's something on a mystery. Exactly how your decisions end up changing him, you can try to guess as you go along. You can just design your ideal Cove. Okay. Making the choices more important than making the choice because you want it always because you feel like, oh, okay, so it has to be more what I want to do. Okay. Hovering the curve, so colours aren't related to specific points. They're only there to give a bit of insight to the tone, emotion of the choice. Okay. So there's really no like major cheats then in that regard. Whoa. Okay. Oh no, that is a lot of options. Okay, square, round. I'm gonna go with oval, tan, brown, dark brown, pale, peachy, olive. I'm gonna go with tan for now. Eye shape. I want to go with. I quite like oval too. Eye colour. Oh, I like that gold colour. We'll go with that. Flowy, short, medium, smooth, choppy. Oh, that is a nice hairstyle. Oh, I'm gonna stick with that. Hair back. Um, I quite like the medium length back. Let's go with. Oh, gold hair looks. That looks amazing. That looks wonderful. Oh, I like that. I like that. Voiced name. Oh, hello. Oh, wow. Oh, okay. Wow. Um, wow. There's a lot of names here. Um, hmm. How about we go with. Okay. I can't not. I can't not. Okay, Rowan, and let's say, um, there we go. Rowan Shakespeare, because why not? Change page birthmarks. Okay, maybe. There's a birthmark somewhere that can't be seen under all that hair. Scars. No. Yes to rosy cheeks. I quite like that. Yeah, those freckles look cute. Hand size. Slender glasses. That looks cute. No, I think that looks cute. I'm going to go with that one. Birthmarks. Um, let's go with one on the chest. Scars, no. Freckles on the body, no. Clothing types. I'm going to go dresses, I think. And pants and shirts. Accessory types, watches, necklaces, and bracelets. Don't want to mess up that beautiful hair, so I think that will be our character for now. Summer in Sunset Bird was a special time of year. Your usually sleepy town began to bustle. It was a popular tourist destination, with people coming from all over to enjoy the beach, the weather, and the relaxation that came with both. The smell of the ocean, crisp and salty, hung in the air, bringing 3 whole months of schoolless vacation with it. During the summer, your mums didn't like you wandering too far outside of your neighbourhood, so you knew the area pretty well. Oh, we've got 2 mums. Oh, that's cute. That included people. Families came and went from Sunset Bird, but they usually stayed and did what your mum called putting down roots. They built businesses, they got to know each other, and they definitely said hello to the nice young kids who waved when passing their stores. Going for a walk around town mostly meant that the familiar, friendly residents waved or asked how your family was, or most often just said hello. You didn't really get why they always had to say hi. You ended up saying hi to a lot of different people since most of the tourists that came and went were the same ones. You were too anxious. Let's go with the middle one. That's the most friendly, I think. I quite like that one. You enjoyed learning all about where they were visiting from and hoped to visit those places one day too. But today, there was a man sitting on the curb outside your house. He was sitting with his head in his hands, his whole body slumped over, and you wondered if if he was even a real person or a statue that had magically sprung up from the ground overnight. Cherry Ripe with a €5 super chat. Happy birthday, Mr. Shakespeare. Thank you very much. That's very kind of you. Whoever or whatever he was, you had never seen him before. One thing about knowing everyone in Sunset Bird was that everyone who you didn't recognize really, really stood out. It was rare for tourists to venture into the residential district, as your mums called it. So, for you, not knowing who a total stranger was set off a lot of red flags. Your mums had a talk with you and your big sister Lizzie about this kind of situation before. You hadn't exactly been listening. They mentioned that some people aren't good to talk to. You remember that it's okay to run away if you feel uncomfortable. I'm gonna go with this one. You weren't sure about this man yet. Okay. Still, you felt a bit scared knowing that he was blocking the way to your front door, but you were pretty interested. You wanted to know more about what was going on. Whether he was nice or not, you didn't want to be a bother. You didn't want to be bothered, sorry. Let's go with this one. You slowed down, your eyes remaining fixed on the man. There was a split second where your eyes met and you knew he was aware he wasn't alone on the street anymore. Hey! You raised your eyebrows at the shout. Did he want something? Is that why he was here? The man stood up and started to make his way toward you. Ooh. Still unsure about him, but I'm willing to be friendly. The man gives a grin of his own back. Okay, that was completely the wrong voice there. Hello. Wow. Okay, so. Do you live around here? What's your name? You looked the man up and down, taking in his tanned skin and relaxed appearance. At least his clothes were relaxed, the way he was acting wasn't. He had sharks on his shorts and a stingray tattoo, and you wondered if he was obsessed with the ocean or something. Oh, maybe I should give him a radical surfer dude voiced man, yeah? Oh, that was cringy. I am so sorry. While you made your assessment, he looked at you expectantly, waiting for an answer to his question. I live there. My name is Rowan. Great! Nice to meet you, Rowan. He gave you a broad smile, relief settling on his face. Oh no, that's not good. He reached into his pocket and pulled out a clean $20 bill. It crinkled in his hand as he held it up to you. Even more confused than before, you looked back at him. Well, could you do me a favour? That's not even California. I don't even know what accent I'm trying to do here. I'll just talk normally. I won't try and do the... Nothing bad. Sorry, I should have... Let me start over. Yes! Please start over. That was a very bad introduction there. He cleared his throat and stood up straighter. From where you were standing, it just made him look creepier. Oh yeah, he looks creepy. I have a son. His name is Cove, who's about your age. Cove, that seemed like a strange name for an actual living person to you. You chewed the inside of your cheek. This guy was definitely obsessed with the water. I'm going to go with this one. But definitely the kind of name someone like this guy would give their kid. We moved in across the street, see? He gestured towards the house that had been empty for a year, his watch catching the late afternoon sun and reflecting off the walls. The gigantic "For Sale" sign was finally gone. "You must be Rowan Shakespeare, right? I met your mums earlier, and they said he told me you were 8, just like him, so..." He shook the $20 bill to bring it back to your attention, a hopeful smile tilting his lips at the corners. "Can you try to be friends with the boy? Just give it a chance, and you can keep this. He's a good kid, you'll like him. But you've got to keep it a secret too, okay? It wouldn't be friendly to say his dad sent you." You eyed the man. You kind of felt sorry for Cove. Did other kids really get their parents to pay for friendships? Yeah, I'm going to go with this one. Had your mums done that for you and Lizzie? The thought made you frown. What do you say? Want to make a deal? I don't want the money. You don't want to be paid for that? It's too weird. I don't want to be... That was me! I don't want to be paid for that. It's too weird. He deflated enough to notice, but not completely. Are you sure? It won't be so bad. Even if it's just for the summer, that'd be enough. That only made this sound more strange to you. Why does it lasting for the summer matter? When it was clear his initial strategy wasn't going to fly, he tucked the bill back into a back pocket and changed the request. I get it, you don't have to. Would you be comfortable with he and I coming by for a normal visit? No money involved. Now there you go, that's a little bit better. I want to go with either I want to meet him or I'll have to ask my mums. His smile got bigger again, his eyes crinkled at the sides. Of course, they invited us over earlier, but I'd like to ask you to... Then I guess you can. I'll bring him by tomorrow. I wanted him to meet and greet with the neighbours today, but... Well, I don't know where he's gotten off to. He laughed when he said that, but with the way his face looked, you thought he actually wanted to cry. Aww. I'm so sorry. If you see him, can you tell him to come on home? He's got a pink cast and glasses. You can't miss him. Sure thing. This definitely wasn't the normal way kids made friends, you knew that, but you were still going to help. The man smiled and reached out to pat you on the head, paused before doing so, then pulled his hand away instead. Your mums are always checking around for me. Such a thoughtful group you are. Checking around for you. Okay, checking around for your son on your behalf. I'm reading a bit too much into it already, guys. That money thing really shook me up. Now, I better go look too. Can't put everyone else to work while I keep sitting here. I thought he might come back and... That's not what's important. I have to go. Thanks again, Rowan. So much. He jogged off down the street without another word. You decided to check the hills behind your house. First sight, step 1. Oh, pretty! That's a pretty view. The chirping of crickets in the tall grass greeted you, quiet and familiar. From the top of the hill you could see the ocean. As you walked, you listened to the crash of the waves on the shore, and the seagulls squawking as they settled down for the night. Always loved the ocean, loved to hear stories about the sea. Didn't enjoy the ocean. I'm going to go with the middle one, the one about the sea and merfolk. Sometimes you could almost convince yourself you had seen the flash of a shiny mermaid's tail in the distance. Aww. You took in a deep breath. You wanted to try and relax and couldn't. You weren't sure what, but something told you you weren't alone, so you glanced around. Ah, is that Cove? There was a boy sitting at the top of one hill, almost completely hidden within the long grass and white flowers surrounding him. His head was buried in his knees, staring ahead by himself. For whatever reason, probably just that he wasn't paying attention, he hadn't noticed you yet. You watched him a minute longer, feeling a little bit like you'd found a deer in the wild. Though deer didn't have sad frowns, I can notice that straight away. But this new boy did. You wondered what could have upset him. After a few more seconds, you took a step forward, then another. And then he glanced your way. His aquamarine eyes reflected the light of the moon. You stopped, raising a hand to acknowledge him and show you weren't scary. Hey, Space Cadet, really? I want to go with hi. With a start, he jumped to his feet, his hands balling into fists at his side. He didn't say anything, just stared at you in a strange way. He'd been crying. There were traces of tears on his cheeks and his knees, soaking the hem of his shorts, and his eyes were still shining with a few more. You'd obviously caught him off guard. His pink cast seemed to glow in the twilight, though when he caught you staring at it, he hid his arm behind his back. Something the man earlier had said stuck out to you. Cove? Ah! Eyes wide, he studied you. How do you know that? I met your dad. Oh. Is this your hill? He gestured with his uninjured arm to the patch of grass surrounding you, his face falling at the prospect. I can leave it if it is. No. You can't own a hill. Why not? How could you? You just do. I had a hill back home. Well, this still isn't mine. Oh. He sat back down with a thump, resting his chin on his knees again. Curious about the strange new boy with the odd dad, you sat on the patch of grass next to him. The pure white flowers that covered this hill rocked back and forth gently, as the stars twinkled above. The way they dotted the sky made them seem like flowers too. The night wind was cool as it travelled over the ocean and up the hill, chasing away the heat from the afternoon sun. Why are you here? A quiet hiccup escaped Cove as soon as you asked that question. Almost like they'd never stopped, his tears started up again with a vengeance. My parents. They don't want to live together with me anymore. Oh no. They're going through a divorce. But that's not your fault. No. Cove. It's not your fault. Oh no. The tears fell fast and heavy over his flushed cheeks, sticking in his dark lashes. My mum and dad leave and My mum made my dad leave and he took me with him, and now we have a house here and I want to go home. The outburst took you off guard. By the time he was done wailing, Cove's chest was heaving with exhaustion. He sniffled and removed his glasses, wiping at his eyes with the back of his hand before he put them back on again. Dylan Martinez with a 100 something? I don't know what currency that is. I'm very sorry. It's ARS. I don't know what that is. Hey, have a wonderful B-Day. Thank you very much. It's very kind of you. I hate this place. I want my real life back. I want my mum. Your dad seems kind of nice. I'm not going to tell him to stop crying. You'll like it here, you just have to get used to it. I'm sorry. He slipped his hands under his glasses and pressed his fingers against his eyelids. Cove wound himself up again for another long crying fit. You felt bad for him, being forced to come here with no choice. You couldn't imagine what it would feel like to live with only one of your mums, but it must be pretty hard. But from way off in the distance you heard your parents. Rowan! Cove! Kids, where did you go? Cove looked at you, tears still clinging to his cheeks. Don't tell them we're here. I don't want to go back to that house. I want to go home. Sorry, I have to. Don't worry so much. You have to go. It will be okay. You were struck by a sudden need to reassure Cove. It's not gonna all be fun, but isn't he your family too? Yeah, I guess. Then you can count on him when you really, really need him. You shot him a grin and pushed yourself to your feet. Slowly, Cove stood up with you, still looking a little reluctant. His dad's voice ran out again. Cove, can you hear me? He looked towards the sound of his dad's voice, silent, then turned away while rubbing his not bandaged arm. Sorry, I still don't want to go. I'm going to try and convince him. Are you sure? You'd have to stay out here the whole night and sleep on wet grass. Before Cove could say anything else, you heard his dad's voice again, even closer than before. There you are, bud! The trio of parents appeared over the curve of the hill. Instantly, all their eyes landed on you and they rushed over. Oh, our mums are beautiful. Oh my god, oh wow. Oh, they are cute. They are such a cute couple. I am jealous of a video game character for having two such beautiful mums who make such a cute couple now. Both of your mums were at your side in a split second, faces filled with worry. Rowan! You're here after all. We had been at the park to check for Cove, and then heard that what happened earlier when you met the new neighbour. I thought you might have gone off further away. Cove didn't want to go home just yet. Mummy gave Cove a small smile, and then she turned back to you. Oh, I didn't see that one. Thank God you're safe or something along those sorts of lines. Were you two having fun out here? You looked over at Cove, who was wiggling against his dad's tight hug and pushing at his arms. Yes, I like him. You nodded, smiling slightly. Finally letting go of his squirming, scowling son, Cove's dad turned to the three of you. Thanks very much for finding him. I really don't know this neighborhood. Good thing Rowan knows this whole area so well. Absolutely, we should be getting home now. It's been a long day for us all. Say goodbye, Cove. Bye. The two of them walked off into the darkness, heading towards the neighborhood. You watched Cove's bright pink cast until it disappeared. Tell you what, we'll have a proper playdate tomorrow, okay? Your new friend's dad wanted to bring him by to see you and Lizzie. How does that sound? Sure, can I show him my stuff? Oh, the voice acting is amazing. Like, I know there's not a great deal of it, but like when it's there, it really is sweet. It adds so much to this. Then okay. Both your mums laughed, the sounds overlapping into a warm, familiar chorus. Oh, this game's already pulling at my heartstrings. We've only just started. Mummy put your arm around your shoulders and led you towards the path. Satisfied and more than a little ready to go to bed after your long, exciting day, you followed them home. Choose your feelings for Cove. This is how you feel towards Cove for this step. It can change in later steps. Relaxed and fond. Wait. Oh my lord. That is such a subtle difference and yet it means so much. Just look how I'm scrolling through and look how the eyebrow that you can see through the hair changes, guys. Direct, relaxed and nervous. And then, oh, wow. Oh, that is brilliant. That is fantastic. That's so simple and it's so effective. Oh, this game was made with love. Ready. You won't be able to change it until step 2. Relaxed fondness, yes. At the breakfast table the next morning, you finished your food faster than normal. Your sister Lizzie had run out earlier to go play, but you'd stayed put. Today, just like your mums had promised, Cove was coming over to hang out. Excited to see your new friend again, Rowan? Yeah, I am. How sweet. I'm so happy he moved in. Okay. With that said, are you done with your breakfast? Yeah. With all the exasperation an 8-year-old can muster, you looked at your empty cereal bowl, then at Mum. Okay, attitude kid, we see. How was that attitude? I didn't realise that was attitude, sorry. Good job, he should be here soon. Clean up began, and then on cue there was a knock. It was hesitant, like the person wasn't sure they were at the right place. Still loud though. We need to get more we need to get a more obvious doorbell. I know. Rowan, could you get it? Wiggling out of your chair without really pushing it back, you made your way to the door, as children do. Hey, Shakespeare family, thanks for having us. Mr. Holden, as your mums have called him, and his son were here. Cove looked different in the bright lighting of your living room, and when he wasn't crying... With his dad standing in front of him and Mum and Mummy behind you, you and Cove looked at each other. Pleased to see your new friend again, you smiled at Cove. He smiled back with some hesitation. Twisted the threaded bracelet on your wrist, twisted the crystal bracelet, crystal bead bracelet, flower bracelet. I want to go with a shell bracelet. Let's go play in my room. Okay. Oh. Let us know if you need anything, you two. Have fun, kids. See you. See you later, son. Play nice. You led him into your room, puffing out your chest a little bit at the sight of your treasures. Oh, so we're one of those children, are we? One of those little obnoxious brats. There were lots of stuffed animals, a cool bed, a window to look out. It was a great room. You hadn't had anyone to show it in a while, but you were really proud of it. This room's way too tidy for an 8-year-old. Nah, I'm sorry, but nah. Even with two mums, this is way too neat and tidy. Nah. He leaned in a little closer to one of your drawings on the wall. I like this. Thank you. You're welcome. You smiled at him. You were proud of that particular piece of art, and you were glad he noticed it. He turned to look around the room a little more, studying the books on your desk and the pictures on the walls. I hope he likes my room. You had put a lot of effort into making your room as nice as it was. You hoped he didn't see anything bad about it. Then his eyes landed on the tiny box of beach things you'd collected tucked away by your door. He took one step towards it, before hesitating and pointing at it instead. What's that? A hoard of stuff I found on the beach. Do you have any driftwood in there? Dragging the box into the middle of the room, you and Cove flopped down next to it. I think so. Yeah, see? You gestured to a piece at the bottom, still covered with specks of sand. Neat. This is a good collection. You got the sense from the tone of his voice that he wasn't just saying it to be nice or to be like Shiloh. He actually meant it. Oh, my lord. Your last chance with a $99.99 super chat. Hello, musical. I hope this helps with getting a better computer. I look forward to seeing more videos and streams from you. You've helped me get through so many days. Know that everyone here appreciates you very much. I hope you have a wonderful birthday today. Thank you. Thank you so much. That is so... That is so kind. Thank you. Oh, I'm not going to cry on my birthday. I am not going to cry on my birthday. Oh, right. I almost forgot. Shiloh is going to be here today. Shiloh? Lizzie's friend. Or, like, her #1 fan, I guess? Do I have to see him? It should be okay. I mean, he's Lizzie's friend, not mine, but, you know. Come on, check out my shell some more. I found this one under a big piece of seaweed that had washed ashore, and... You pulled out seashell after seashell, explaining where you'd gotten each one, and holding them up against the light. Why is this me as a child? Why is this my autistic ass as a child? There were big ones, small ones, pink one. There were small ones, pink ones, pink. There were big ones, small ones, some as big as your head. Pink, purple, and orange. Wow, I am dipleptic today. Most of them you washed off in the bathroom sink when you brought them home, cleaning off the sand. Over the past years, you'd even learned some of their scientific names. The collection was huge and varied, funny stories, voice faltered a bit, but you kept going as best you could. See, me being autistic, yes. Yes, scientific names. You had a whole picture book dedicated to different shells and sea life. You'd learned a lot by flipping through its pages. Apparently fascinated either by the stories or by the shells themselves, Cove listened with what looked like the full force of his attention. Oh my god, this is just so cute! It was a new experience to be the centre of such dedicated focus. Can relate. Can relate. But Cove hadn't been mean to you, so you didn't mind. You smiled at him every now and then, while showing him your collection. Kids, come down to the living room. You could tell the idea was making him unhappy, but Mummy wasn't giving you much of a chance to hang around. Cove hadn't been like this meeting you. Blah, I really cannot read today for some reason. Don't know why. Hang on, let me put these glasses on. There we go. You guessed it was because he thinks you found each other by accident, not that a parent made it happen. Mr. Holden must be right about that. Telling Cove his dad was part of that would be a bad idea. Before you knew it, you'd both been escorted downstairs and deposited in the living room, ready for Shiloh's visit. The two of you sat side by side on the floor of your home's entryway. I brought a box of shells. I want to keep looking at them. Great! Bust it open. We can keep looking at while we wait for Shiloh. Cove reached in and pulled out a big orange shell. Oh! Like he hadn't spoken aloud yet, he turned to you and held it up, his eyes shining. I think this one is the best of them. You can take it. Cove looked at you in surprise, his eyes going wide. Really? Really? Ugh. My throat, really, wow. Sure, you like it a lot, right? Uh-huh, but I don't want to take it away from you. It's okay. You got the impression he was hesitant to accept something because he doesn't know you very well. I'm going to insist. No, it's okay for you. No, it's okay for you. You pushed the shell against Cove's chest, willing him to receive the present, but Cove firmly shook his head and kept his arms tightly at his sides. It was a battle you couldn't win, at least not today. Cove was your neighbour now. Maybe you could get to him another time. Give it to him another time. The two of you were still sitting on the floor looking through your collection of beach findings when the doorbell finally rang. Cove jumped, startled by the sound. Since the person hadn't knocked, you figured it was probably Shiloh. He knew where to look for that. Lizzie's friend? You nodded, but that didn't seem to make Cove feel better. It was already obvious that Cove didn't hide his feelings well. You could tell what he was thinking right away. This isn't a good idea. You'll be all right. He's here. We can't tell him to leave. He's at our door, and if you go upstairs, he'll find you. Cove glanced around the room, his eyes wide, and finally paused with his gaze locked onto the back of the house. I can go out the window. He was already walking towards it. Scrambling to think of something to say, you stepped forward, then paused. Um, wow. No, 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 no. Please don't get hurt. I'm worried. What if something happens? The distance from the first floor living room window wasn't far, but you could tell it made Cove nervous anyway. He touched the cast on his arm. The wind had clearly released from his sails. I don't want to break any more bones. I don't think anyone wants to. Yeah. But I don't want to see him. I don't know him. Comfort him. It's okay if you're worried. Nobody warned you this was gonna happen. Thanks. Shiloh poked his head into the living room. It was impossible to know for sure if he'd heard what you'd been saying or not, but you guessed that he had. Wow. Okay, was not expecting Shiloh to look like that. I thought, is Lizzie the younger sister, older sister, same age? Because I was expecting Shiloh to be a bit older. Okay. Hi, Rowan. And hi, Cove? Cove shot you an uneasy glance. Hi. I'm Shiloh. It's nice to meet you. Yeah. You have a lot of freckles. Right. I do. Wow. Wow, Cove. Way to be tactful there, buddy. What are you guys doing? We're looking at shells. Awesome. Can I do it too? Cove shrugged, then looked back at your box of beach findings. What about that one? The plan for the afternoon, at least as far as you were concerned, was to sit and look at the beach things some more. You weren't really in the mood to do much of anything else, especially if Cove was having fun. Hey, check out this scallop shell I found. Cool, right? Carrot, I've seen that joke. I'm just going to say, can you not go any further with that one, please? It's a pretty colour. Kinda like my cast. Oh, wow. Ravenger Phoenix with a $300 super chat. Happy birthday music. Thank you. Wow. Wow, that's unexpected. Thank you, that is amazing. That is very, very kind of you, Ravenger Phoenix. Thank you, that is very much appreciated. The beautiful glittering pink did look a little like the wrap around his arm. Pink is a nice colour. Oh, Shiloh, sorry. Pink's a nice colour. Okay. Is it your favourite colour? Not really. What is? Maybe green or blue. It might be yellow. Yellow's my favourite. Oh, all of those are cool. I guess. I like those colours. Awesome. Both of them smiled. Like usual, it didn't take long for Shiloh to get fidgety. Lizzie was his favourite. Without her around, Shiloh didn't seem to know what to do with himself. And Cove wasn't like your sister. He wasn't that much like you either. Is Lizzie coming back? Don't know. Ah, where'd she go? I think she's at the beach. Probably. Is she playing at her park? Cove's eyes lit up at the mention of the park, and he looked towards you. There's a park? Yep, but it's old. Can you show me? I want to go. He started getting up before you had even answered, and Shiloh jumped up beside him in excitement. Really? You do too. You do too, right, Rowan? The park is fun. I love it. Yeah, it's right by the beach, so there's lots of fun stuff to do, and lots of sand. I don't like sand. It's coarse and it's irritating and it gets everywhere. It has a jungle gym and a bunch of swings. That sounds like it could be cool. So, are we going to find Lizzie? I don't know. I never really wanted to see her. I just want to check the park out. Adrift without any direction, Shiloh finally turned to you. Okay. He perked up. Both boys wanted to go. It was only fair. After getting permission from your mums, the three of you were ready to head out. That's quite a sweet looking park. That looks very quaint. When you found her, she was hanging on the jungle gym, swinging back and forth. Hey, Lizzie! Her face lit up when she saw you, her big brown eyes going wide. Rowan! Shiloh! Hi! She dropped to the ground and landed with a soft thud in the sand. In a split second, Shiloh had abandoned you two and scrambled over to stand by her. You were used to being left out when it was just the three of you, but now Cove was here. You wondered if he would leave too. Oh my god, she's cute as well. Like, all these characters have got such cute designs. They really all look... like, I love this art style. That. Oh my god, this is amazing. Who's that? It's Cove. He's new. I remember. Hi, Cove. Welcome to my park. Nobody ever comes to play here, so this is where we get together. She gestured widely with her arms as if to present the area to the newcomer. Without interrupting Lizzie's speech, Cove whispered in your ear, quiet enough that the others wouldn't overhear. I thought kids couldn't own places like parks or hills. Wow, Cove. Wow. You couldn't help but laugh a tiny bit. While Lizzie continued talking, you took the chance to kick off your shoes and wriggle your toes in the warm sand. Nice, huh? In this neighbourhood, I'm the one who comes up with the ideas. You are? Yeah, I am. Who else could handle the job? Lizzie is the oldest. By a lot. My mum said you're Rowan's age. Yeah. Thought so. I'm still the only one in this group with double digits. What about other kids? Other kids? There aren't any. We're the only kids here, and Shiloh is just visiting from another place. Not even tourists really bring their kids here. This is the land of ancients. Be careful with the oldies. Don't try to steal... Be careful that the oldies don't try to steal your youth. Wow. Oh. For a second, it looked like he might cry again. But something in his eyes shifted and he looked back at Lizzie. What kind of old people? Like mums and dads? Or grandparents? Grandparents who don't have kids. They hate kids. Why? We haven't done anything. Stop saying stuff like that. You're going to upset him. You interjected quickly, hoping Cove wouldn't start crying again. He sniffled, his forehead creasing with worry. Lizzie was staring Cove down, but Cove wasn't looking at her anymore. He didn't seem to care that she was there. He went into his own head. Oh, Cove! Shiloh was the next one to speak, completely unaware of the situation. I met Lizzie and Rowan in school. You'll see tons of kids there once summer is over. I don't want to go to a new school. I don't want summer to end. Shiloh looked down to the dirt. He hasn't had much luck striking up conversations with Cove. I like summer vacation a lot too. All the building tension in the air suddenly vanished when Lizzie laughed. At Shiloh's discomfort at how weird she thought Cove was, at something else entirely you didn't really know. But she laughed, face scrunched up. Welcome to Sunset Bird Cove. Take a seat, put up your feet, and get used to it. You offered him a small smile, and that at least looked to reassure him some. For the rest of the summer, Cove was always there. You saw him more often than Shiloh, and on some days when she was in a bad mood or busy, you even saw him more than Lizzie. He became a staple of your everyday life, the way the sun and lunch and the beach were. During your first summer together, you really liked Cove. He was a fun person to play with, and he seemed to like playing with you too. Of course, that was only the start of things. Ooh. Okay, wow, moment select. Okay, whoa, okay. Wow. So, moments. There's 5 moments apparently. So I can select any 5, I'm guessing. Let's go with Sandcastle. Cove wasn't able to do many things that summer. When him and Shiloh sat out on the shoreline one bright morning, you could tell he wanted to be in the water. But there was no way he'd be swimming anytime soon, not with his cast. The waves washed a single shell to shore, glittering and blue. Another reminder of the places he couldn't go. From what you heard about Cove's old life so far, in tiny bits and fragments, tiny pieces and fragments, you could tell that he'd do anything to be able to get the cast off. Like make a pact with a witch or something, just to get it off his arm. You thought about how his summer last year must have been totally different from this, with his old home and his mum and dad. But now, here he was, with you and Shiloh and Lizzie and everyone else, and he couldn't even go in the sea. This town wasn't bad. It had all your favourite things in it. But sitting there on the same beach you'd grown up on, you could understand that not everyone else felt the same way about Sunset Bird as you did. You watched him from the corner of your eye quietly, and he finally said what he had been pondering. Aloud what you had been pondering. I wish I could go in. The water? Yeah. Oh, I'm sorry. You're going to be able to do it soon. Cove only sighed in response. Apparently, soon wasn't soon enough. It's so pretty, the ocean. Mm-hmm. And huge. There could be anything out there like mermaids. I wish you didn't have a cast. I really don't care. Mermaids aren't... I'm not going to do that. I wish you didn't have a cast. Me too. Obviously not interested in hearing much more of your input on the situation, Cove turned back to the water. But as he looked away, something about Shiloh's slow, careful movements caught his eye. Hey, are you building a sandcastle? Sort of. I was only playing around while you were talking. I'm listening. Maybe I could too. I've only made big piles before. It's really nothing special. I'm sure you'll be good at it right away. Well, how do you do it then? Shiloh's cheeks lit up. You could tell he was a little bit uncomfortable to have Cove's expectant stare on him. I'll play too. I love making sand stuff. Okay. That was a cute okay. That was a very cute okay. He put his hands back to his seashells and sand and nodded. I don't do a lot. Here's how I get a house started. Shiloh, focusing more intently than you'd ever seen him, guided Cove through his process. You happily used your own method. It didn't take long for the three of you to each have humble structures prepared. That's all, kind of. You can do anything now. Like make it bigger, add some seashells, carve a pretty pattern. I bet you'll have great ideas. I'm going to make it bigger. Mine is going to be a real castle. Cool. This is going to be a house. Looking at the base of your sandcastle, you decided to make... Well, we've got a house, we've got a castle. I'm going to make a mansion. Looking at the base of your sandcastle, you decided to design a mansion. The better part of the next hour was spent focusing on your own work. The boys were the same. Even Shiloh didn't sneak as many peeks at everyone else as he usually did. You finished shaping before either of them did, glancing up from what you'd built. It seems you got done so fast because they already searched around for extra decorations. Shiloh had grabbed most of the really interesting stuff, and Cove had a lot of shells, but there were still options. The first thing you reached for was a... Ooh, I love sea glass. I'm going to use a green piece of sea glass. It was the best fit for your mansion, you decided. It was see-through and sparkly. So you put it in a funny place where it'd take a second look to see it. Pleased with your result, you finally took a proper look around that wasn't focused on the sand itself. Both Cove and Shiloh seemed super immersed still. You knew you could probably sneak a peek at either one's work. Sorry guys, don't know why I'm yawning so much. That is ridiculous. I'm not going to look so I can focus on doing other bits and pieces. Can't stay long, but I hope you have a good day. Talk to you soon, I hope. Thank you very much, Little Green, with your $5 super chats. Very kind. I'm not going to look at their castles right now. You instead watched some clouds go by. The silence was then broken. What's on top of yours, Shiloh? You peeked closer and discovered something shiny sticking out of Shiloh's sand chimney. Oh, it's just a gum wrapper. It looks like smoke. It's good. That's smart. You should be an architect. You'd be good at it, Shiloh. Shiloh smiled without a word. And that was that for the current topic. Rowan, can I see what you did? Sure. He scooted a bit nearer and began surveying your work. All you really knew about mansions was that they were supposed to be big, so you'd gone really big. It was the size of the country club that Lizzie played golf at compared to Cove and Shiloh's buildings. Probably even bigger. Shiloh quickly decided to jump into the new conversation. Hey Rowan, what did you do? This is my mansion. It looks great. Your house is so big. I guess mansions are just really big houses. Huh? Is being a house bad? No, but we each made our own place. Nobody is the same. I think we are. Cove raised an eyebrow at that. If something is the only one of that thing, that makes it special. Yeah, for sandcastles and stuff. People too. My dad always says how everybody has their own man, a real individual. I don't think I'm very special. Same, Shiloh. Same. Why not? Nobody else is you. Shiloh simply shook his head. I'm not different. A beat passed between the two. Cove then looked down at his own work again. Okay. He didn't seem to be bothered leaving the disagreement hanging there. Cove had other things on his mind. My dad tried to get me to make sandcastles the first time we came to this beach. I didn't want to. Cove trailed off. Again there was another moment of silence. Shiloh shifted and opened his mouth to say something, but Cove spoke up before he could. You didn't think he noticed that Shiloh was going to talk. Hey, do you know what happened when your mum spent my dad, Rowan? You waited to see if Shiloh would say what he wanted to. When he didn't, you disconsidered Cove's question. I wasn't there. They didn't tell me. Oh, goodness. Mr. Holden had been a weird stranger then. Well, he was still kind of strange. No other parent acted like him, but you knew him better at this point. Now that you thought about it, it made a lot of sense that Cove's dad talked to him about people being unique. You were pulled from your thoughts when Cove continued. Oh, well, I was there. I don't think my mum has met your dad. I don't think my mum has met your dad, said Mrs. Shiloh. Yeah, I'm pretty sure she hasn't. Rowan's parents and my dad met the same day I met him. I was going to say what happened. Shiloh frowned himself, ducking his head. His hat cast a shadow over his face. You could still tell he was upset about not being included in Cove's choice of topic. That was kind of boring for him, though giving people their own turn to say the things they want is important too. I'm gonna let Shiloh talk. Huh? We were talking just not right. We were talking just not right now. I'm talking to him. He can listen. I'm talking to you. He can listen. Shiloh's expression barely flickered at the words. He still looked put off. Oh, hi, Poxy. Welcome to the stream. Thank you for joining. Cove continued like the interruption hadn't happened. He was determined to tell the tale. When we moved here, we didn't bring a lot of things with us. Only some stuff that would fit in Dad's car. We didn't even get a moving truck. Thank you everyone for your happy birthday messages so far. I've seen them all. I haven't really been acknowledging them so far because we'd be here all day if I did, but thank you to everyone so far for wishing me happy birthday, and thank you all for being here. I sat in there while Dad brought it all inside. I didn't want to get out because I knew Dad would make me look around the new house. I really don't want to do that. His lips twisted into a frown as he recalled that. Then I saw your mums. They were in the car too. And stopped at your house. I guess they were coming back from somewhere or something. My dad noticed. He waved his hand, then went over in front of your house, where he started talking to them. I don't know what they said. I couldn't hear it. But he couldn't see me anymore since he was looking the other way. So I opened the car door and left. I wanted to get away and went behind the houses. I found those hills. The ones where we met the first time. Cove nodded and stared at you. You stared back. He didn't go on to say anything more. Aren't you going to finish your story? Cove's brow wrinkled, like he didn't understand why you were surprised. That's all that happened. Thanks for telling me. You're welcome. Even if not much happened, you weren't going to complain about knowing the story. Shiloh's mouth twisted into a scowl of disbelief, but he said nothing. Why'd you bring that up, anyway? There was a slight shrug off Cove's shoulders. I was thinking about it because of the sandcastle. It made me remember when I moved to here. Dad showed me the beach first, before we went back to the car to unpack. He was really excited about it for some reason. Cove's brow was furrowed a little more as he quietly raked his hands through the sand. I get it. You thought maybe Mr. Holden wasn't that excited about the beach and was instead hoping Cove might be. But the line of conversation had come to its end. Even Cove was done with it. Some other topic had popped into his head. Shiloh fidgeting uncomfortably in the sand had made Cove aware of his presence again. They looked at each other, and you could only wonder what this might be about. Hey, Shiloh. Yeah? Why are you always turning red, even when nothing's happening? Clearly startled, he jerked back. Neither you or Shiloh had expected that to be how he got included in the conversation again. I don't know, I guess. Okay, it's kind of weird. Shiloh's eyes were wide with embarrassment and his lips twitched, and he was blushing even harder than before. Maybe it wasn't only this. Perhaps it was simply the last straw. But it was a big deal to Shiloh. A huge deal. He didn't just look sad, seemed almost panicked. You weren't sure if he was about to cry or run away or what. But you soon got an answer. Why do you wear glasses? Most kids don't wear glasses, and nobody is named Cove. Who asked you to come? It was probably just your dad bugging Rowan's family some more, 'cause you don't have anyone else who will ever play with you. Cove blinked. The tension on the beach was suddenly uncomfortable in a way you didn't know how to laugh off. It didn't seem like the kind of thing he'd get upset about, though you hadn't even known what kind of things would bother Shiloh. I'm sorry. Me too. I was just wondering. Hey, let's build another sandcastle. The day is going to be over soon. Ah, Rowan, you're right. The sun is going down so fast. You all went back to making more sand buildings, but the whole mood had changed. Shiloh's cheeriness was clearly gone, and Cove looked as confused as ever about why the other boy had blown up. The air stayed uncomfortable the rest of the afternoon, right up to the moment that Shiloh's mum appeared at the beach to take him home. At least you tried to do something to resolve it, though, and it seemed like it helped. Even though Shiloh's smile when he said goodbye to Cove wavered, he stayed as bright as ever for you. That had to count for something. But with Shiloh gone and the sun going down, you knew it was time for you and Cove to head to your own houses. The two of you trailed out to the park together toward the neighbourhood. The walk home was quiet. You passed by familiar landmarks, shoes thumping against the sidewalk in near perfect unison. Cove was clearly caught up in thinking about something. I'm going to ask him what he's thinking. Something was definitely up, so you chose to reach out to him and ask. Hey, Cove, is everything okay? You're making a funny face. Oh, I was just wondering. Cove fell silent for a few more moments, then sighed. Why did Shiloh act like that? When I said he was all red, a lot. I'm going to say he gets embarrassed. Embarrassed? I didn't say anything that bad. It might have upset him anyway. I guess. I can get it. Why he would do that. Sometimes I get really mad too. Despite seemingly coming to a conclusion, Cove's mood was still sour. Hey, Rowan, was Shiloh telling the truth? Huh? His gaze left yours as he dug the sole of his shoe into the ground. He looked oddly vulnerable for a moment. Does my dad make you hang out with me? I know he talks to your mums about that a lot. An uncomfortable weight settled in your chest at the question. You liked spending time with Cove. You didn't even have to think hard about it. You knew you did. But you couldn't help feeling guilty. Cove still didn't know what happened when you met Mr. Holden. Nobody's making me spend time with you. Cove's shoulders relaxed. You hadn't even noticed he had tensed up. Yeah, that's what I thought too. Anyway, I didn't think you were pretending. I just wanted to make sure it was okay, is all. Thanks for telling me. Your throat tightened. It was hard to meet Cove's earnest gaze again. Keeping secrets was hard. I'm not really... Okay, the dad offered me money, but I said no. The fact of the matter is, I said no. I hung out with him on my own merit. Does that not account for anything? Wow. If that whole thing about, oh, yeah, your dad offered me money when we were 8 years old to hang out with you, if that comes back to bite me in the backside, I swear on me mum. You're welcome. By now, the two of you were on the sidewalk near your houses. It was time to part ways. I'm gonna hug him. You stepped toward and wrapped your arms around him tightly. You stepped forward, not toward, sorry. You turned your head, resting your cheek on his shoulder. Cove stood there awkwardly with his hands at his side. He wasn't much of a hugger, but you didn't get the impression he was unhappy that you were. Bye, Cove. See you tomorrow. Yeah. Bye, Rowan. You pulled away, then jogged towards your house. When you looked back, you saw Cove making his way back home too. As if he felt your eyes on him, he turned around. He waved. You did too. You still felt a little unsure with what you were supposed to do about the deal Cove's dad, had offered. You didn't want to say anything bad, or something you shouldn't. You had no idea how Cove would take it either. It would be terrible if it made him feel bad. What if he didn't want to play with you anymore? You might change your mind sometime. There was always tomorrow after all. But for now, it was definitely something that you'd keep to yourself. With a final look, You went inside your house. Well, that was a sandcastle moment. How about... How about we go with... I'm interested in this fireflies one. Alright, tonight we're going to catch fireflies. At this blunt declaration from your sister, you looked up from your macaroni and cheese dinner. Fireflies were a familiar sight over summer. Coming out on warm nights to dance through the sky. Tonight was particularly balmy. You knew there were bound to be a ton of them around. Oh, are you? Oh, you are you? I'm gonna look at my mum's. They hadn't answered for sure yet, but if that's what Lily said you'd do, that's probably what you'd end up doing. Lizzie was an expert at getting her way, having mastered the art of it by the time she could talk. That's a good idea, Lizzie. That's a good idea, Lizzie. Can we miss Shakespeare? Shiloh tapped his fork beside the table excitedly, his face lighting up as he looked at Lizzie. It was unusual for Shiloh to still be here. Like always, his mum had to bring him over really early in the morning before her job started. But normally she would have picked him up by now. She called before dinner to let your mums know she'd be late. You didn't hear why. Probably more work things. Yeah. Work-related things. Just work things. You thought maybe getting to hang out with Shiloh for longer is what made Lizzie want to keep running around the house. Staying at home and watching TV was never an option for her with guests over. That's why you were pretty sure she'd get your mums to agree. Well, it's already so dark out there. Lizzie gave Mum the best puppy dog eyes she could, slowly spooning mac and cheese into her mouth while you waited there for their response. Let them go. Nights like this don't happen very often. Your parents exchanged a look. Then Mum eventually sighed and nodded back. Yes! Fine, fine. Just make sure you stay on the hill behind our house with all the poppies, okay? Duh, Mum. That's where most of them are. The idea had only just been planted in your head. But already you could just picture all the glowing lights spread out in front of you, like the fairies from the bedtime stories Mummy read her sometimes. Lizzie and Shiloh started digging into their food, and it soon became a race to see who could finish their dinner first. Aren't you excited to go outside and play, Rowan? You gave a non-committal shrug. Rowan is just mad because I always catch the most. Lizzie boasted proudly, her mouth full of food, and Mum gave her a stern look. Elizabeth? A knock on the door interrupted Mum before she could no doubt scold your sister. I'll get it. Your big sister jumped out of her seat and ran out over to the door, pulling it open without even looking at the window to see who it was. Huh? You shifted in your seat to try and get a glimpse of the unexpected guest. Of course it's Shiloh. Who else would it be? I'm joking. I know it's Cove. Good evening, Cove. I'm making a joke of him being shy-low. A shy boy with low self-esteem. Your mummy has already walked to the door by the time you managed to see past Shiloh's flappy hat. Oh, Cove! Hi, you're here! Cove smiled at your enthusiastic greeting, and you hoped Mummy would ask him to stay. It didn't matter why he was there, it meant he could join you all in catching fireflies. Then for a few seconds, Cove said nothing. He only stood there and looked up at your Mummy with a face almost like he was considering turning around and leaving. My dad told me to drop this off 'cause I guess he borrowed it from you. Cove took a familiar screwdriver out from his large side pocket, his eyes now dropping to the floor. We left ours back home when we moved. Great, thanks, bye. Thank you. Here, why don't you come inside for a bit? Lizzie crossed her arms. Even with these glasses I can't read, and lifted her chin. Cove shrugged, and Mum stood from the table too. I'll give your dad a call and to let him know you got here all right. Cove shuffled fully inside, eyes remaining to the ground. Mummy closed the door behind him. Hi, Cove. Shiloh gave Cove a friendly smile while waving by holding up his hand and opening and closing his fingers. Cove nodded in response. You could see Lizzie eyeing you for mentioning the excursion to an outsider, but she'd get over it. You hoped Cove would say yes. That way you wouldn't be the odd one out with Lizzie and Shiloh anymore. Wow! What is going on with me yawning so much? It's so warm in this room. Hang on. Get some air circulating. Maybe I won't yawn so much. I can do that. I've never caught one before. It's too bad he didn't have the chance before now. The fireflies weren't out when he'd moved in, and there must not have been any where he used to live. We can't go out until after dinner. After she pointed this out, Lizzie walked back to the table and took her seat. There wasn't much left on her plate. Since this was very true, you decided to finish up your own stuff as well. Cove stepped closer and eyed what was on the menu for your family's meal. Have you eaten yet? Yeah, my dad and I ate earlier. What did you have? Eggs. The clipped one-word answer seemed to discourage Shiloh from asking any more questions. His eyes slowly wandered back to the last scraps of food on his plate. Her phone call with Cove's dad must have ended because your mum came back into the room. Cove, your dad said you can stay for a little while if you'd like, but he's going to come to get to you before it gets too much later. Sure. Oh, fun! This will be so nice. As you polished off the meal, you hoped it would be too. The three of you finished eating shortly after, and Lizzie led the way outside. Remember, don't stray too far. It's fine, Mum. Shiloh trailed so closely after Lizzie he was nearly stepping on her heels. Cove hesitated at the door. Coming? After a moment he did. Bye, children. The two of you were a good 10 or 15 feet behind Lizzie and Shiloh by the time you walked outside. You pushed the door shut behind you, watching their figures get farther and farther away. You're so slow, Rowan. We don't have all night. You started to run when you heard Lizzie's voice calling you, but paused when you saw Cove was still walking at a relaxed pace. I'm going to walk with him. You fell behind, sidling up next to him and matching his stride. He noticed right away. You can go ahead if you want. You smile and shake your head. I don't. After a short while, the two of you reached the hill behind the house. The fireflies were out in full force, floating on the breeze, their gentle glow winking in and out, creating an almost magical effect. Lizzie had already climbed on to the top. Shiloh was spinning in circles somewhere around the middle. Wow! Shiloh took a moment to come over and welcome the both of you to the hill. Hi guys, it's really great out, huh? See how many there are? Yeah. A firefly danced through the air, landing on Cove's sea green head. Couldn't help but giggle. Covering your mouth with a hand, a sound escaped you, and Cove looked at you in confusion. What? Oh, look, Lizzie has one. That's amazing. Shiloh ran to the highest point of the hill, making sure not to lose his hat or backpack along the way. You hummed as the group divided and conquered, shifting your gaze to the dozens of other fireflies sailing around. The game was on. Oh, so I got some sort of injury I'm being cautious of, huh? Oh, or I can say I don't have any scratches. I'm going to do that. Spotting one close by, you approached it with assassin-like stealth, crouching down to make yourself seem like less of a threat. Slowly dragging one foot in front of the other, you crept up towards it, arms outstretched. You closed your hands around the little glowing orb, careful not to crush it. The firefly landed on your palm, almost docile, and you stared down at your prize in delight. Its tiny legs tickled your skin, and you giggled at the sensation. Cove kept up with his own target, but when he tried to grab it in his pink cast, his pink cast waved awkwardly through the air, foiling his efforts to clasp his hands around the firefly. Ah! Cove watched it vanish into thin air with a dissatisfied expression on his face. Gonna encourage him to try again. You'll get the next one. Did you catch one? You nodded, and Cove gave up his hunt for the moment, coming closer and peering at the insect still crawling across your palm. You held out your hand, and he leaned closer, eyes widening attached behind his glasses. Cove remained hypnotized by the little bug as he inched his hand closer to yours. Ultimately, he settled his fingers lightly over the top of the ones you were holding out. It tingled. I'm going to stay very still. The last thing you wanted was to accidentally scare the shiny treasure off. Oh, that is cute. Oh, that's cute. The firefly, noticing the new connection, crawled up onto Cove's hand. He quietly gasped. It worked! Yeah, you got one. Cove's lips turned up into a slow smile, and his eyes shined brighter than the bug. Thanks, Rowan. With a laugh, he gave the palm of your hand a friendly smack, performing an awkward low five. Aww. Startled by the extreme movement, the tiny light disappeared before you could even blink. Your firefly was gone. Oops. Sorry. Of course I'm going to forgive him. That's okay, I couldn't keep it forever. Right. Bugs have to stay outside. Let's get another. Yeah, let's go and collect more. Uh-huh. We can work together. His face broke out into a wide grin. We'll get a bunch. With renewed vigour, you ran out into the hill. You're not sure how much time passed while you were in the thick of it all. All you could focus on was the adventure at hand. No critter was safe from your grasp. At first you tried to keep a tally of how many you caught, but once the number grew higher than 10, you had no more fingers left to count with. You were having the time of your life, racing up and down the hill with the crash of the ocean and the sound of everyone's laughter echoing in the background. Rowan, this way! You followed the sound of Cove's voice to the top of the hill, watching as he stretched his arms in front of him, reaching with his fingers and only narrowly missing his target. Cove and you took turns trying to scare fireflies in the direction of the other. You showed him some techniques that you had learned, like how to cup your hands correctly, and he listened attentively before trying for himself. This is so cute. There were a few times when you almost ran into each other, giggling as you dove to the side at the last moment. Luckily, disaster was avoided each time. It was an overall huge success with the both of you catching multiple fireflies each. Eventually the fireflies began to thin out and your energy started to lapse. You decided it was time to call off the hunt. Cove didn't complain. He breathed in deeply and his face seemed really flushed. That was fun. A lot of fun. You smiled at him broadly, happy that he had enjoyed the activity. Yeah, it was. Rowan, Cove, get up here. We're going to have a race. The shouting caught you off guard. It had been quite a while since you heard from Lizzie or Shiloh. You glanced over to see them both standing at the top of the hill again, Lizzie beckoning you with a quick hand gesture. If she was like that, you knew there wasn't much room for disagreement. Up the incline you went. From the corner of your eye you saw Cove coming as well. He didn't care for Lizzie a lot, so you thought he might be intrigued just by the idea of a race. Hi. Hi. Cove, you can't roll down the hill. You could hurt your arm again. You'll be referee for the rest of us. As Lizzie pointed this out, Cove froze in place. It was that kind of race. He frowned down at his cast. That was the second time it got in the way tonight. What? Yeah, you'll watch and see who gets to the bottom first. That's important, got it? I guess. The cast was sturdy. If he was careful, he could have done it. Lizzie might have just been looking for a reason to make someone else be the referee, but it was already decided. I'll stay with Cove. Really? Why? You don't have to. It's okay, I want to watch. You moved beside him on the top of the hill, even though Lizzie eyed you and made a face. That's not how races work. We only need one referee. Shrugging your shoulders, you refused to budge, and Lizzie let out a huff before throwing her hands in the air. Fine. I'll be the winner whether you join or not. Lizzie moved to lay down, and Shiloh did the same. Cove stood slightly to the side to get a better vantage point, and you stood next to him. Countdown! Cove stood up a little straighter. He seemed like he was taking his newfound referee duty seriously. 3, 2, 1, go! Lizzie and Shiloh took off, letting gravity do the work and rolling at high speed towards the bottom of the hill. You and Cove leaned forward to watch them go, eyes peeled for which of the two would reach the bottom first. They were both neck and neck until about halfway down the hill, Lizzie started to veer off to the side, giving Shiloh a huge advantage. She obviously hadn't noticed a thing, and as soon as Shiloh reached the bottom of the hill, he jumped up excitedly and threw his hands in the air. I won! Almost immediately he fell back onto the grass, still dizzy from his roll down the hill. Lizzie stomped out of the bush she had ended up in, spluttering angrily and brushing leaves from the front of her dress. Not bad, you got lucky. Let's do it again and see who wins for real. Kids, it's time to come in. No! You snickered, feeling grateful you hadn't been a part of the mini debacle. You caught Cove's eyes and saw he was doing the same. It had gotten late and was beginning to feel a little bit chilly as you made your way out of the hills, but the cold in the air hadn't dampened anyone's spirits. The four of you walked back home together, side by side, down your neighbourhood street, discussing the evening, with each person trying to prove that they were the one who caught the most fireflies. You knew that whoever really did catch the most didn't matter much anyway. All that mattered was that you all had a good time, which, judging by the smiles on everyone's faces, you did. Oh, that was sweet. I might do one or two more moments, and then we might call it a stream for now, guys, and we'll pick this up again another time. Let's try... I want to do a DLC one. Let's try Sleepover. Alright kids, we're done with dinner. Come to the table. Your stomach grumbled right on time, as if it had heard your mum's words. You halted your game and looked over. Mum was almost done setting the table. She was walking around the mahogany wood in the process of putting down cutlery. Mummy was still in the kitchen, humming under her breath as she turned off the stove and put the empty pots in the sink to wash. From beside you, Lizzie stirred, uncrossing her legs and standing up. She stretched her arms above her head. Finally, I'm ready to eat. Then she cast a sly glance in your direction. You recognized that look. Last one to the table is a rotten egg. I haven't... But it was too late. Lizzie had already bolted towards the kitchen. I'm going to throw a cushion at her. Grabbing one of the cushions from the sofa, you threw it towards her. It hit the back of her legs, but it was too soft to do anything of real consequence. She merely brushed the attack off with a scowl. It was a short distance to the kitchen table. Lizzie managed to get there easily enough, slapping a hand on the wood. Mum moved just before Lizzie could bump into her. With an exasperated sigh, she resumed her work. I win again! You didn't win because you were racing by yourself. No, I told you we were both racing. You're just so slow. I wasn't racing and you know it. That sounds like something a rotten egg would say. Lizzie grinned, her hands on her hips, then looked over your shoulder. Cove, you can be the tiebreaker. Was that a real race that I totally won? You blinked. You hadn't noticed what you had been doing during this little event, which wasn't much. You spotted Cove still on the floor, his legs crossed beneath him, the arm of the cart with the cast resting in his lap. He looked at you, the two of you, with a slight frown. It felt sort of strange to see him here so late. Tonight, Cove had come to your house for a sleepover. Your mums and his dad had planned it a few days ago. I'm not surprised. I was the one who asked for it. They had told you they would ask Mr. Holden. He looked forward to it since the moment you found out. You looked forward to it the moment you found out he agreed. And you even helped Mum search the storage room for a sleeping bag and extra bedding to prepare for his visit. Cove pursed his lips at Lizzie's question, but he didn't respond. Maybe he was planning on ignoring her. Not that Lizzie would make it easy. This wasn't the first time she had asked him to be referee for one of her sudden races. Well, did I win or what? No. What? I don't think you won. How come? It's not my fault Rowan's slow. Cheating's cheating, and cheaters never win. I wonder why that is. Cove snuck a shy peek at you before answering her. I pick him and he picks me. Oh my god! Oh, that is adorable. That is absolutely adorable. You're a couple of rotten eggs, then. That's enough. Nobody here is a loser or a rotten egg. You're each farm fresh. Oh, that is adorable. Which is a sentence I never thought I'd say. Now listen to Mum and come sit at the table for dinner, all three of you. You and Lizzie obeyed, sitting across from each other at the edge of the table. Lizzie blew a raspberry at you and Mum's turned her back. Your parents brought the last of the food and they took seats further down the table instead of sitting right next to you and Lizzie. Only Cove was left out. He had stood up from his spot on the floor, but he hadn't made a move towards the kitchen. Cove, you can sit too. Slowly he eyed the 4 seats that were left. Thanks to the new seating arrangement your parents chose, one free seat was beside you, another next to Lizzie, and the last 2 were on the other side of where your mums were sitting. Cove's gaze met your gold eyes. You smiled. Briefly he grinned back. He walked over, pulled out the chair next to yours and sat down. You were glad he wanted to sit with you. He just needed to know it was okay. Now that everyone was situated, Mummy began to pass out plates. Dig in, kids. I cooked a little bit of everything for dinner tonight. Be sure not to avoid all the veggies. Yes, Mum. Each person at the table served themselves, except for one. Cove hesitated again. He fidgeted with his hands, clamped on the tops of his knees. He didn't seem very comfortable doing stuff in someone else's house. One dish seemed to have his eye at least. That's pineapple chicken. Want to try some? Not really. Sorry. By then, your mums had noticed that Cove still had nothing on his plate as well. Do you not like any of the food, Annie? Maybe he hasn't tried Hawaiian food before. He hasn't? Wow. Please don't talk with your mouth full, Lizzie. Lizzie swallowed the bite she was eating, then she spoke again. He should try it now. She turned to Cove dramatically. Unless you want to shrink. That's what happens if you miss a meal. Elizabeth, that's not true. You know that. Cove squirmed under all the attention. He fidgeted with a fork between his fingers. I've had some things. Just not any of this. Oh, shoot. I knew I should have asked your dad what your favourite foods were. It's alright, Lani. Maybe he'll find a new favourite today. You weren't so sure about that. Cove didn't look like he was going to be trying the food anytime soon. I'm going to encourage him on the dish he was looking at. He ultimately trusted your judgment. At your suggestion, Cove carefully spooned rice and chicken onto the plate. You saw he took more of the grilled pineapple than any of the vegetables. You nodded, pleased, and your mums let it slide. At first, Cove poked at the food. Clearly he was apprehensive to eat something new, but he took a few exploratory bites. It's good, huh? Isn't it? You don't have to keep asking. He still had more meat with his fork and ate it. With his fork, chewing thoughtfully. It's not bad. Mummy grinned at his words, satisfied even though it wasn't exactly a glowing commendation. Lizzie wasn't as mollified. You're so weird. Don't be mean to your friend. We're not friends. Oh. Mummy floundered in the face at Cove's blunt honesty. You weren't surprised by Cove's declaration. The more you got to know him, the more you realised he wasn't the type of kid to keep his opinions to himself. She wasn't easy to get along with all the time, though Cove didn't make much of an effort either. We're friends, right? You had never asked before, but that's what it felt like to you. When you gave Cove a look, he returned a small smile, and that made you feel a little better, even though you were still unsure. Your mummy looked at Mum and only got a shrug. Elizabeth, don't call someone weird. There's no such thing as a weird person and a non-weird person. There's just different perspectives. It's not a nice thing to say to someone. Anyone. But Pam... Mummy tried to whisper exclusively to Mum. Her attempt to make it audible over the sound of clinking silverware meant you caught the quiet words anyway. They're not friends. He said so. As parents, we can only try, and sometimes we fail. Not all kids will be thick as thieves. Now less talking and more eating, kids. We need to clean up and start winding down before bed soon. But Mom! No buts. We've talked about this. Your bedtime will be moved back in a few years. For now, you don't get to stay up late. Lizzie sulked, muttering under her breath about how it wasn't right. Gonna laugh at the phrasing. You couldn't contain your snorts. Something the matter, Robin? Mum said no buts. Lizzie scoffed and rolled her eyes, unimpressed with such crude words. Mummy snickered along with you, however. That's right. No buts allowed here. You'll have to get rid of yours. No, I need it. The two of you continued to chuckle, and Cove even cracked a smile. Children. I'm surrounded by children. Yep. But you love it. You love it, Pam. The rest of dinner passed by uneventfully. Cove was silent for most of it, even when you nudged him and tried to get him to talk. All too soon the table was cleared, the games in the living room were put away, and you were all steered to your bedrooms. Mum finished tucking you in and kissed your brow just as Mummy poked her head in the room. All ready for lights off, you two? You were lying comfortably in your bed, the blanket hiked up under your armpits. You could kick it off later if it got too hot. Mum had set up the sleeping bag on the floor for Cove, just beside your bed. He had already wriggled inside. You nodded, and for the both of you in response to Mummy's question. Perfect. I'll go say goodnight to Lizzie then. Mum tweaked your nose, chuckled when you squawked in annoyance, and left. Mummy took her place, sitting on the edge of your bed. Oh, that's so cute. She pressed a soft kiss on your forehead. You giggled as strands of her hair fell forward and tickled you. Mummy smiled down affectionately at you, then moved her attention to Cove, who watched from his spot on the floor. Do you need anything before falling asleep, honey? What does your dad do? Sometimes he picks me up and lifts me really high, and he shakes his hands like he's gonna let go. But he catches me again. He keeps doing that until sometimes he does drop me on my bed. Or sometimes he lowers me down and we pretend like I'm crashing. Cove had become pretty excited when talking about the nightly ritual he and his dad shared. He seemed to realise how animated he was and bashfully quieted. But I don't want to do that here. Ah, how fun. Though I think you're right about that it might not be a good idea to do that tonight. The sleeping bag might not be a soft enough landing. If there's anything else, you can always ask me or Rowan's other mum. But I'm the nicer one. Just don't tell her that. She laughed good-naturedly and stood up. Sleep well, Cove. Night. Leaning against the door jamb, she rested a hand on the light switch and looked at you. Good night, sweet, sleep tight. Don't let the bed bugs bite. With a last smile, Mummy turned off the lights and stepped out, closing the bedroom door behind her. You listened to her footsteps fade as she walked down the hallway. But even as the sound vanished, your eyes stayed open. It was so exciting to have Cove spending the night. You were happy that Cove was spending the night, but you couldn't shake the conversation from earlier at the dinner table. Cove had said that he and Lizzie weren't friends, but that wasn't the part that was bothering you. You couldn't stop but wonder what he really thought about you. I'm going to ask him. Cove? Yeah. Are we friends? Cove didn't speak for a few moments, and you wondered if you'd startled him with that question. The longer the silence stretched, the more uneasy you felt about his impending answer. You don't think we're friends? You wrinkled your nose at the question being redirected back at you. The way Cove had asked it made you think that maybe he hadn't even questioned it before, and now more than ever you wondered if you should have kept quiet instead. We're best friends. You heard Cove shuffle around in his sleeping bag, and you looked up at the silver lights cast upon your ceiling as you waited for him to say something. Well, there isn't somebody else it could be. So I guess we are best friends. You chuckled. That answer is just like him. Only 'cause there isn't anyone else? No. You giggled once more. And then you let your eyes drift closed, pleased that it was settled. You started when Cove sighed deeply. You turned your head and looked in his direction. In the dark you could only see a faint outline of a lump under the covers. Cove? What's wrong? I can't sleep. Why not? He shifted, or at least you thought he did. You couldn't see, since his eyes were still adjusting to the light. But you heard his sleeping bag rustle. I want to be in my bed. Oh. Cove sat up. Your eyes had gotten used to the low light level, so you could see him better. He got out of the sleeping bag, wobbled towards your bedside table, and pulled open the top drawer. "What is it?" "I'm getting my glasses." You sat up too, watching as he reached inside. He paused for a second, then pulled his hand out. Instead of his glasses, though, he was holding a book. Cove turned it around in his hands, trying to get a proper look, trying to figure out the proper orientation for it. You knew, even without reading the title, which one it was. That one your mum would read to you. It was special. What are you doing with that? Cove shrugged, squinting at the newly found cover in the dark. "I just thought it looked cool." The compliment he afforded your special book had you grinning, your confusion forgotten. "It's really cool." "Oh yeah? What's it about?" "It's a story about a squire who wants to become a knight, and there's magic." "Does it have mermaids?" "No, but..." "There's a dragon in it and crazy things happen. The squire tries to kill her because the king wants the dragon dead, so they have this fight. But the squire finds out the dragon's really nice. They decide they don't want to fight her after all, so the two of them become friends instead." You were reminded of the hours you'd spent hearing the tales. No matter how many times you read it or had it read to you, you were still entertained by the story and pictures inside. You glanced out the window. The moon was high in the sky. Definitely going to read the book with Cove. You climbed out of bed and padded over to your side table. You opened it and rummaged around, pushing aside stuffed toys and crayons. Cove called out to you in a confused whisper, "What are you doing?" "You'll see." You let out a quiet cry of victory when you found what you were looking for. You jumped back onto the bed before any hidden boogeymen could catch you unaware. Cove continued to watch as you wriggled your way beneath the blanket you discarded earlier. You pulled it up over your head. "What's... Come on, check it out. Bring the book too." After a minute, the bed dipped as Cove got on it. Then the blanket shifted. You fiddled with the flashlight in your grip, feeling for the switch. With a click, the small space flooded with a bright light. Cove spluttered, putting a hand up to shield himself from the beam. "Move it somewhere else." "Sorry." You tilted the flashlight so it was shining down towards the floor of your blanket cave and away from Cove's sensitive eyes. That is a cute sight. That is a very, very cute sight right there. Is that better? Yeah. Now we can read, and my mums won't know. I do this all the time. When mum or mummy check in on me, I have to hide everything under the blanket. But I haven't been caught before. Do you want to try? Cove nodded. Pleased with his straightforward response, you placed the book between you and flipped it open to the first page. Meanwhile, he lay down on his belly and shuffled closer, picking up the flashlight to shine it on the pages. His face was illuminated with a warm glow. You mirrored his position, leaning in so you could see the book better. Your foreheads nearly brushed, until you shuffled back a comfortable distance. I'm going to narrate it. You loved it when Mummy read to you. Why not read as loud as you dared this time of night? You didn't even need to study the book page for long. There was once a squire who dreamed of knighthood. All they wanted was to do good. Cove was taken aback when you began to recite the words by heart. You even pronounced knighthood correctly, a word which had given you grief in the past. His reaction encouraged you to keep going. Soon you got to an exciting part, the squire and the dragon's first meeting. The squire walked up to the fearsome dragon, their borrowed sword in one hand and a torch in the other. Her red scales danced in the light like flickering flames. Could you say the dragon's lines? Do you need to get your glasses? No, it's... My head hurts if I don't wear my glasses for a while. I can kind of see things all right, but I don't know any voices. It's okay. It's fun anyway. Let me just... Cove read the page, his mouth moving silently with the words. Eventually, he nodded to himself and spoke them out loud. Who goes there? Roared the dragon. Who dares enter my cave? It was your turn. You went into the squire's famous speech. The next time you looked up from the page, your gaze landed right on Cove. His eyes were following the text, a soft smile lighting up his features. A lock of his hair fell into his field of vision, but he gave it no notice. He was lost in the story. You started when Cove caught you watching him. He raised a questioning eyebrow. What? Nothing. Cove shot you a strange look, but he went back to the book. You did too, even as your eyelids started to droop. When your eyes opened again, your bedroom was pitch black and silent. Your head was smushed into your pillow. Your pajamas were sticking to you, and your mouth was dry. Slowly you raised yourself onto your elbows. You yawned, the back of your throat twinging as you did so. You rolled onto your side to sit on the bed, planning on getting water from the kitchen, when you saw a dark shape towering above you. You froze. Then you remembered you weren't alone in your room tonight. Cove, that you? Yeah. You shifted and felt something cylindrical pressing against your thigh. You fumbled for it. The familiar weight of the flashlight pressed into your palm. You turned it on. Cove blinked at you, looking exhausted. He was in his normal clothes again, shoes and everything. His pyjama pants were left on the floor, abandoned. His sleeping bag was in a similar state. What is it? Can't sleep. I keep waking up. Did you have a bad dream? He shook his head from side to side. No, just can't sleep. It's weird here. You frowned. You'd helped your mums redecorate it only for a few months ago back. I like my room. It's not that it's bad. I just always sleep in my bed, in my room. That made things a little clearer. It wasn't anything that you'd done. Cove couldn't sleep in a new place. You wondered how long it took for Cove's bedroom in his new house to not be weird to him. Probably a while. I'm gonna go. What? That shook off the last of your doziness. He was going to walk outside back to his own house? At this time of night? All by himself? He noted your shocked expression and looked at you with resolve. My dad would let me in, and I've gone outside late before, and I have to go. You don't have to. It wouldn't even be a sleepover if Cove left in the middle of the night. It was called a sleepover for a reason. Cove looked frustrated, though you got the feeling it wasn't at you specifically. Yes, I do. You were at a stalemate. Frowning to yourself, you studied his sleeping bag. Was there a way you could make him more comfortable? If Cove didn't like how weird your room was, maybe he would feel better if he had something more familiar nearby. Oh! You went to your bed and grabbed your blanket, then you spread it over the floor besides Cove's sleeping bag. He watched as you did, blinking. You're sleeping on the floor? Yeah, next to you. Hopefully that'll help you sleep easier. Is that okay? Uh-huh. You spied a small smile playing on his lips. We can try it. But if it doesn't work, I want to go home still. I get it. You grabbed your pillow and a few plush toys for good measure, as Cove picked up his pyjama bottoms and folded them, then set them aside. You tossed the items in your hands onto the blanket, completing your task. The two of you stood and looked down at your handiwork. Are you going to change into your pyjamas? No, I can sleep like this. There wasn't anything else left to say. In unison you laid down side by side. Cove put his glasses aside and got into his sleeping bag. You made yourself as comfortable as you could, wrapped in the fuzzy blanket. The floor was hard and unforgiving against your back, not at all as comfy as your bed. But you didn't mind it much. You had fallen asleep on the floor before. What mattered was that if it helped. You swiveled your head to observe him. Is it better? Is it better? He poked the top of his face out of the sleeping bag and mumbled bashfully. I don't know. I have to sleep first. I can't tell if I can now. You couldn't help but be disappointed by the answer. Promise to wake me up if you want to go? Cove looked confused by the request. But he nodded anyway. Sure. You smiled. At least he wouldn't disappear without you knowing. You settled in for bed on the ground, closing your eyes and waiting for sleep to come. You waited to give Cove a chance to get comfortable. Surprisingly, he decided to keep talking. This was my first sleepover. I guess. You opened your eyes to see him staring up at the ceiling, his seam foam hair spread out around his head, like he'd just gotten shocked. Really? I've had sleepovers before. Sometimes I'll go to a friend's house. Shiloh slept over a few times too. And other stuff. Cove remained quiet. The silence stretched between you, but it didn't feel awkward right now. You didn't feel the need to break it immediately. How was it? Or is it? It's not bad. I liked reading your book. You did? I kind of thought you weren't having fun. You didn't really say anything when we were eating. I didn't know what to say. Oh. Now you were the one who didn't know what to say. You just laid there, and so did Cove, for what felt like a long time. Hey, Cove? There was no answer. You leaned on your elbow to see Cove's eyes closed, his lashes fanned over the apples of his cheeks. His chest raised and lowered with every inhale and exhale. He was fast asleep. You smiled to yourself. Good night. You rested on your back and closed your eyes. Soon enough, you were lulled into sleep by the gentle sound of Cove's breathing. The next morning, you were woken by the sound of your mum's voice and a soft shake of your shoulder. Rowan, wake up. It's time to get up and at 'em. The sun was peeking through your curtains, and you rubbed your eyes as they adjusted to the new light. Is everything okay down there? You blinked at Mum for a moment, confused, before remembering you had slept down on the floor next to Cove. He was just waking up, yawning loudly. His hand lightly hit your face as he stretched out. When you moved away, you groaned a little at the pain in your shoulder from having slept on the hard ground. It definitely wasn't as comfortable as your cosy bed, that's for sure. Cove wasn't feeling good, so I stayed with him. You mumbled and glanced at Cove, who rubbed his eyes sleepily. He didn't say anything. Still, you were glad he had decided to stay the night in the end. When you looked at Mum next, she was smiling at you both. Mummy was standing in the doorway behind her, doing the same thing. All right, kids, we'll be downstairs making breakfast. Don't take too long coming down. She said something to Mummy on her way out that made the two of them giggle. Did you sleep okay? You stood out and stretched your legs, watching Cove fumble with the bedside drawer to pull out his glasses. I think so. He had been able to relax when it was just the two of you in the night. Now that a new day had come, he gave the impression of feeling out of place again. But the smile on his face had a gentle light. Thanks, Rowan. You're welcome. Even if it couldn't be a perfect time, it was worth it. Cove didn't stay for breakfast. He really was ready to go at that point. Mummy called to make sure Mr. Holden was up before Cove went home. He gave a small wave as he left, thanking your mums for letting him stay, before disappearing through the front door. You smiled at the sight. Cove's very first sleepover had come to an end. Okay, well guys, I think that will be the end of this episode. Thank you all so very much for being here for the stream. Thank you to everyone who donated during the stream. Like, it was not at all expected, but I honestly do appreciate it so much. Thank you all so much. And to everyone who's wished me happy birthday, thank you so much for all of your love and support. I very much do appreciate it. And wow, 29 years old. I am getting old. Ah, well. Thank you all for being here, guys. And until next time, keep on singing, everybody.